Okay, guys, so here's what we have so far. I know we've been getting annihilated and pummeled with equations and inequalities, and today we're going to add another equation into the matter, and that is an absolute value equation. But here's what you have to make sure you always understand, because I don't want you to just be able to solve one type of equation. Understand that all equations and all inequalities, you're going to be doing the same thing. Okay, we're going to be simplifying each side of the equation or the inequality. After you simplify it down to a variable and a constant on both sides, use the properties of equality. Add on, maybe you have to add something to both sides. Perhaps you have to subtract something from both sides. That's equality. You're taking something away from both sides through one of the operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. It will always remain the same. Okay, and that's what I try to teach you. And I try to teach you that because it doesn't matter if the equation is 50 miles long and we're trying to solve it down to just what x is. You can always do that by simplifying both sides. Use your properties of equality, figure out what the answer is. Okay, so we've learned some special things. In an equation, we just figured out there's one solution, possibly no solutions, possibly infinite solutions. When we did inequalities, you had to make sure that you know that if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to switch the sign. That's a special thing. Those are the things we have to know mathematically in order to get better. Okay, so the numbers aren't necessarily the algebra that I want you to know. It's the process. How do we get to something? Okay, that holds true for this next lesson, which is lesson 1-7, and it's absolute value equations. So first of all, what is absolute value? Absolute value is just a distance a number is from zero. So integers could be -7, for example, or +7, are both 7 units away from zero. So an absolute value equation is always going to have two solutions, okay, because there's always going to be two numbers or two integers that are the same distance away from that zero that's in the middle. So here's what's special about solving these. Here you can see our example 1, absolute value equations. I put the symbol for absolute value. They appear to be parallel lines that are wrapped around something. It doesn't necessarily just have to be an X. It could be anything, but I have that down for the example. So when you see that symbol, that means absolute value. That means you know you're going to always have two solutions. Our first example is 7 equals the absolute value of X plus 2. We have to solve for X. In order to solve for X, or in order to solve an absolute value equation, we can't do anything until the absolute value is all alone by itself. So right now you can see that +2 is with the absolute value. We need to get rid of the +2. So here again, this side's kind of already simplified, this side's simplified. Now let's use properties of equality and get rid of the 2. So if we get rid of the 2, we're going to subtract the 2 from both sides. So I will take 2 away from this side, and I will take 2 away from that side. If we do that, our answer on this side is 5, and over here we have the absolute value of X. The 2 is obviously gone. 2 minus 2 is 0. So what does this mean? Well, this means we have two answers for X. First answer is just X equals 5. Our second answer is X equals -5. So why are those two things the answer? 5, if I replace my X with 5, the absolute value of 5 is 5. It is 5 away from 0. But we also have -5, and the absolute value of -5 is also equal to 5 because it's 5 away from 0 as well. So it's the same distance away from 0. So in an absolute value equation, you will always have two solutions. Okay, and the thing that you have to remember about an absolute value equation is always get absolute value by itself before you begin to solve the equation.